Summoner Necromancer is back, tearing through Torment content with a new and updated build. Right now, level 77, 78. Skill breakdown, how does it work? Gameplay loop, aspects, itemization, Paragon board, everything will be covered. Plus, there will be a D4 builds link in the description below with a written form of the build. Heads up, without the Ring of Mendeln, your minions will never be absolute damage monsters, but you can make them super survive and they will be crowd control beasts. That's what this build focuses on. Get everything just completely locked down and blasted away. And that's super easy to achieve. Step number 1, we're going to be playing Blight as one of our damage staples, and Blight is going to be able to immobilize. That has two reasons. You want the enemies to be stuck in place, but also against elites and bosses, you want that stagger bar to just fly full. Huge flash for the corpse creation, and obviously you want to have as many points as possible in corpse explosion. Right now we get 9 out of 5 because we get a pens with +4 in there, and we're using blighted corpse explosion. Also, yes, skeletal mastery is leveled up, and as a surprise, we only have 1 single point in Grim Harvest because we're creating so much essence. That is because of the Book of the Dead. First and foremost, we're using the Reapers for bonus corpses. Second and most important, we're using cold skeletal mages, and they create bonus essence. You could technically have them also make enemies vulnerable. That is not needed because we're actually using the Iron Golem that can make units vulnerable with the Slam, and we have the Slam on permanent uptime due to our skills. Because we're using Decrepify with Enhanced Decrepify and the chance for cooldown reduction on the Skeletal Mage Mastery, obviously being also stronger, and very important Death Rage for damage to distant enemies. You really want that one. Now, we also have the Necrotic Carapace for Fortified Generation, and then we actually have only 2 points in Reaper's Pursuit, 1 single point in Crippling Darkness, because 1 second stun is good enough from Darkness skills, but it's more about also filling up the stagger bar on everyone that can't be stunned. Followed up by 3 points in Gloom and 3 points in Terror, for the huge bonus of damage. Especially Terror does bonus damage against slowed and bonus damage against stunned or immobilized enemies as well, which kind of fits perfectly into what you're doing here. Now it comes to the interesting part. Yes, Golem Mastery is leveled, 1 single point in Bonded Essence because the 20% max heal is enough, and yes, my minions barely die ever in Nightmare Dungeons. Then 3 points for the attack speed because attack speed is king, especially for the freeze, followed up by the death defense so they don't die in a hit. You don't actually need Hellbent Commander, and that's the main reason you're not close to your minions. Your minions are standing in, racking havoc, while you're in the back triggering Corpse Explosion and throwing in Blights. Last but not least, we're using Shadow Blight as a big damage staple. And yes, I would like to use my minions as the damage staple with Callan's Addict, but that's going to happen as soon as I get Mendeln's Ring, or the Ring of Mendeln, because that's where the huge damage in minions comes from. Good thing is, this time we actually are using the Dead Razor board as well for the damage reduction, but let me first get to the aspects before I actually go down on what exactly we're doing with the Paragon board. This build is currently using 2 uniques. You do not need any of them to make it work. The most important one you want to have is every 10 seconds your cold skeleton mages cast a blizzard that deals 1000 cold damage and continuously chills enemies. Very good. And especially if you have 5 skeletal mages, that's 5 blizzards that each deal 1000 damage for 6 seconds. So that's 30,000 blizzard damage just going down on your opponent. And yes, there is a higher roll of that one as well. I think there's a legendary version with 800 item power. Now what we're using is the Bloodless Scream. Why the Bloodless Scream? It's quite insane, to be honest. Yes, this is a very low roll version. I need an 800 one. And I have a weapon that has 2000 more attack, and that's why I'm saying it works with a weapon that has more attack as well. But your darkness skills chill enemies for up to 40%. Keep in mind, Corpse Explosion is darkness, Blight is darkness, your main damage staples. Also, your darkness skills have up to 100% chance to generate 2 to 5 additional essence against frozen targets, which works very good as well. But you also get 30% darkness skill damage, insane, damage to chilled enemies, and damage to frozen enemies. Plus, the cold resistance is quite useless. That is working very well with the cold skeletons and obviously all your darkness skills. On top, we have the Howl from Below. Again, if you have a glove that gives you 4 points in Blight, that's equally useful. But this one gives you, instead of detonating immediately, Corpse Explosion summons a volatile skeleton that charges at a random enemy and explodes. Corpse Explosion damage is increased by 40%. And this is multiplicative. So it's not added on top of it. It's all the damage you deal with corpse explosion times 38%, which is quite good. Plus you have lucky hit chance bonus. Lucky hit chance works with the cooldown reduction. Corpse skill attack speed is essentially your corpse explosion being able to trigger faster. Yes, corpse skill attack speed is exactly that. And then you have a chance to stun or fear with your lucky hit on top of that. This gets followed up with general damage reduction to your minions if you have 7 or more, always useful. On your chest, we hire the amount of skeletal warriors and we hire the amount of skeletal mages. Then on the amulet, we're using one of the most important ones. You deal 120% increased damage for 6 seconds, can be up to 180. After the Shadowblight key passive damages enemies 10 times. That happens constantly with all your shadow damage and your Shadowblight key passive. Interesting on this amulet is I get +3 ranks and amplified damage. And amplified damage is a very nice skill that is from the curse. You deal 9% increased damage to cursed enemies. With +3 ranks, that's suddenly 18% multiplicative increased damage to cursed enemies. With just one item, you get just that 9% bonus damage plus shadow damage over time. Super good. Followed up is the Shadowblight key passive deals damage to enemies. It increases the next Shadowblight's damage within 10 seconds by up to 40%, stacking 5 times. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but you do 1,500 Shadowblight damage, that gets increased by 200% over time. And then that gets also increased by another 120% by your Lighted Choker. And we have another damage staple that actually applies to making that stronger as well. And then last but not least, each time one of your summoning minions damages an enemy, they gain attack speed for 3 seconds. And that's a really good stacker because you want your mages just to constantly ramp up and do attack speed. Now let me show you the gameplay loop and then how the Paragon board makes this truly a massive undertaking. We're currently level 78. If we take the Nightmare Sigils plus 54, then we should be 4 levels higher. So everything from 25 to 30 is something you should be clearing from an efficiency standpoint, especially since you don't need to do higher ones for better drops. It's kind of bound to how your level is and how high the drops are going to be. This is a tier 28. Now keep in mind, before I see that in the comments again, yes, Bone Spear does millions of damage and everything. And I have a very sufficient, nice, fun Bone Spear build, but it got boring. I mean, running around and doing a million essence and just one-clicking everything, yeah, but it got literally boring, and I stopped playing it, returned to minions, do less damage, but I enjoy the game tremendously more, and the clearing speed is still there, the clearing fun is there. You send your minions in, you notice even with the explosion guys that usually rip everything apart, my minions survive. I pop 1 heal to get them healthier, and the damage staple is essentially get your minions in, throw blights, have permanent essence. And now the good part is you have your golem, which stuns and makes vulnerable. You can send him in first, use then Decrepify, and with Decrepify, you're essentially going to be resetting the golem. There's the golem cooldown straight away again. Use Decrepify, Corpse Explosion, golem cooldown again, Decrepify, Corpse Explosion. And you notice how like continuously in a row, you just have the golem constantly up. And that's maybe only 14,000 damage, but it's also a 3-second stun, and it happens continuously. Now we're gonna send him in on that. There's the explodey dude. It's gonna look out that they don't tear me apart. They're trying to kill my skeletons. Unlucky. Not a single skeleton has died. No, that's not true. 1 mage has died. That dude gets stunned again. Then we do amplify damage on him. Spam Corpse Explosion. And you see the Corpse Explosion damage is quite nice, and it gets only amplified by my damage staples down here at the bottom. I think you can do up to 60,000-70,000 if you activate your... Oh, if you get the 100% bonus damage activated, which is the 10 stacks here. Oh, Golem stun. Keep everything away from you. Again. Amplify. Golem back. You'll notice that in bigger packs, especially with many elites as they're happening. Golem stun, get back, golem stun, get back. And you will notice how we essentially end up just completely locking down a pack of opponents with the golem and making them constantly vulnerable by the combination of the golem stun and everything together. Now there's somewhere damage. Ah, there he is. I was wondering why the dude wasn't taking any damage. My minions still haven't died, even though there's some area effects going on. And now the dude starts to take... Jesus Christ. That damage reduction was intense. And the golem stun is going on again. It is the beauty of how truly good this can be. But wait until you see us absolutely tearing apart that boss. There's the golem stun. Again, even for smaller packs, you want to use the stun as often as you can, because it's just nice, absolutely CC. And the best part is, as you have the golem stun in, okay, you also trigger your shadow skills, which have a chance to stun as well. So even if they get out of the 3-second stun that the golem applies on them, they'll be essentially ending up to get just hit by the next stun just around the corner. That dude here that wants to be annoying, no, you just get permanently stunned, immobilized, frozen, chilled, taken out of, you know, the ordinary, and not a single minion. No, one single one has died since we've entered the dungeon. So the minion survivability is on top. Yes, you'll need quite some Paragon points to get here, but I tell you, after you reach level 50, you will start getting Paragon points, and your minion survivability is good around 50 straight away, even in the Nightmare dungeons. As you then progress to Torment, yes, then you truly want to have the bonus minion nodes unlocked. I'll walk you down on the order in which I use my boards right now, and there's one thing you'll have to consider, one trick, because if you do your Paragon boards in the wrong order, then the stat requirements to unlock some things later, they are getting kind of out of hand. But you'll reach anything anyways for bonus damage. But we'll come more to that after we get that boss here destroyed. Now all my minions are dead, and we'll quickly just resummon all of them. Pick up the stone carving, bring it back, and then we'll just jump straight to the boss. Oh, there's a good elite pack here. 1 stun, 2nd stun, 3rd stun, 4th stun, 5th stun. And don't forget again that, like, we have to say this, every stun is 15,000 damage. So it might not be the most of all damages, but you have it on top of what you do, on top of all the damage that's anyways continuously raining down on your opponents. Plus you immobilize them, and then you do more damage against stunned enemies as well, as you have itemization with damage against stunned enemies. And now all my skeletons are dead. Surprisingly, we're still good on the damage front. We can resummon them as there's only 1 minion left, and they held out almost the complete fight. Yes, obviously, if you have opponents with Shocker and Shock Lens and everything together, and all these things happening, your minions might die. Now to the boss fight and the beauty of this build when it truly comes down to absolutely locking down a minion. Look at the stagger bar for Timothy, Spirit Caller of the Frost. That's how I call him. We do the stun with the golem, which obviously does nothing, and yeah, you just notice how his stagger bar just fills it like there's no tomorrow. And then we're also just blasting him away, so in this level of Nightmare, he doesn't stand a chance. But in higher levels of Nightmare, you essentially just get them instant staggered and completely obliterated. And that's really good together with your friends, especially if you play as a team. The amount of stagger you'll do is beyond belief. Right now, you can see my Death Razor rune is only 11. Paragon nodes within range gain 60% bonus to their minion damage and damage reduction modifiers. So we're already pushing this up, and we need just a few levels to get the most out of the damage reduction. Now for the Paragon board, one thing you have to keep in mind is the more boards you chain in a row, the bigger the stat requirement will be to unlock a rare node. This is 440 dexterity, for example. This is 360 willpower. And here you only need 270 willpower. So put them in the order where it makes most sense to you. Most important, the second board should always be the Death Razor board. What I did is I traveled straight up over the 20% damage in max life node, put in a amplify socket, and that is bonus to the magic nodes, but also 10% bonus damage to enemies afflicted by a curse. Now I need another 10 intelligence, which is easy to grab to actually get the second bonus unlocked, and that gives you more armor and also more damage staple. That flies straight away up through more potion healing and life regeneration while not damaged recently. That works extremely well with your minions, as they might be in the combat, you take some stray damage, you just stand around and you just passively soak in a little bit of life, and that is 4-second timer, by the way. And the first legendary note we take is Flesh Eater. Consuming 5 corpses grants 40% increased damage. Yes, multiplicative. On top of the 120%, on top of the 200%, you get another 40%, plus the 18% amplifying damage, plus the 10% here. This works all so well. There's also 2 rare notes that we don't pick in the beginning. We essentially go straight past and we go for the Dead Razor board. We don't actually want the bonus minion damage because it's not that good, again, until Ring of Mendeln. But what you really want to have is this glyph socket for the bonus and damage reduction, and then with the 16% damage reduction for your minions. And yes, if you have the dexterity, and I'm missing only 7, there's another damage reduction coming. And then, yes, bonus damage for minions, plus another bonus damage for minions. Very good. Gets highly boosted here by the glyph socket. And then whenever your minions deal damage to an enemy, that enemy takes increased damage on top of that multiplicative. Plus, we're then traveling straight away down to the next board, and that is the Wither board. Why? That is 10% shadow damage and intelligence, shadow damage, shadow damage, shadow damage. That will get boosted by another 10%. You have the shadow damage over time booster for every willpower in range that you do more shadow damage over time. And then you and your minions deal increased damage to enemies affected by shadow damage over time. Yes, another multiplier that works for everyone. You get a little bit of resistance and more intelligence, then straight up going for more shadow damage over time and more shadow damage. But this needs 620 intelligence. Yes, quite heavy. There's a world where you actually choose this board over the Wither board, but you're going to miss out on the 40% multiplicative damage multiplier. And now we're going down here in this board as well to get the Gnawing Darkness, which is another 10% damage to enemies affected by shadow damage over time, right? And damage against elites, more shadow damage over time, damage against elites. Plus, we're going to be traveling essentially for more potion healing and maximum life and end up at the Wither. But we had a chance to grab a glyph up here. So after essentially finishing this board, we quickly slipped left over. This is only resistance to all elements and intelligence. What means only? It's actually good. And this is another 62% damage against elites and intelligence. Huge. And then we put in the glyph socket, and that is Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper is really interesting because it gives you bonus to the magic nodes close by. But on top of that, you deal 2% increased damage up to 12% for every close corpse. Now we explode every single corpse, but this is a multiplicative multiplier again, and for every single corpse it counts, and we can't actually explode all the corpses as fast as we want. So we get a huge damage increase as soon as we tap into all the dexterity nodes close by, which we anyways need to unlock some things back here where we need bonus dexterity. Yes, wombo combo, super trouble. And end of the day, if you have enough points, you will also tap down here, which is maximum resistance to all elements and another maximum life bonus. Having everything beautifully covered. Jesus Christ, that is a good Paragon board. Summoner Necromancer still works fantastically well. And yes, Bone again does the incredible damage, and I'll definitely be working on a Bone Spirit build for the one-click super delete, because Bone Spirit is cheesy, while Bone Spear Necromancer is just plain boring. If you're looking for a Blood Surge Necromancer, or you have zero clue how to progress after level 50, there's 2 videos covering both topics.